All right, well, we are about 2 minutes past, just making sure that everybody has a chance to get their audio figured out and everybody get in the room. I'm sure we'll have some more people join as we go through the presentation. Um, I'm your host for today, Rusty Hall, here with Etumos. Again, this is the first session of our MOPsCON Spring Preview. Our first session here today, Why Leads Great Till They Gotta Be Great, Reviving Dead Leads. And we've got four-time Marketo champion Amanda Thomas here with us today. I'd like to remind everybody that these sessions are actually meant to give a taste of the kind of content that we're lining up for the fall virtual event, our full MOPsCON, which will be coming up this fall. I would also like to say that since you've registered for this event, you'll actually be receiving a discount code for the registration for our full MOPsCON, which is coming up in September. So again, this is some great preview content, give you a kind of a taste and a flavor of the kind of sessions that we'll be presenting in the full MOPsCON coming up. We're also going to have an open call for speakers, so look for information coming out about that soon as well as we get closer to that event. We are recording all of these spring preview sessions, and we will be making these available on demand over the next couple days. We're also going to be sharing the slides from today's presentation, so those will be available for download. Check your emails for that. That'll be coming out as a follow-up along with this session and the other sessions from our spring preview. Two quick housekeeping notes that we want to get out of the way. We are going to do a Q&A at the end, so we're reserving time for that. Please use the QA function that's here in Zoom. So if you have a question about the topic that Amanda's going to go over with us today, go ahead and just pop that into the QA. We'll get to those at the end of the session as time allows. Additionally, we do understand that the majority of people in today's work environment are remote. There's a lot of us who are in home offices and streaming. So I would like to remind everybody that if we do run into any technical difficulties, any audio problems, you can also pop that in the chat if there's an issue with the audio or something with the presentation. We'll address those difficulties and try to get back online as soon as possible. So please just bear with us in this sort of all remote world that we're in today. With that said, I'd like to turn it over to today's speaker, Amanda Thomas. Amanda, if you can just give us a little background introduction about yourself, what we're going to be covering today, and you can take it away.
All right, thanks, Rusty. Thanks, everyone, for joining. I'm really excited to talk a little bit about resuscitating and reviving dying leads, or in other words, a recycle nurture. To give you a little bit of background on myself, there we go. I am a four-time Marketo champion as of this year, so current Marketo champion, and I co-lead the Houston Marketo user group. At the time that Marketo did do specializations, I did get a specialization within nurture and engagement programs. Over the years of my background with Marketo, I have really developed a knack for nurture and trying to build the most intricate programs around nurture to really touch and make sure everyone stays engaged at every stage in the buyer journey. So this is my area of expertise within Marketo. Super excited to talk more about the recycle nurture portion of nurture in general. My contact information is here, all social channels. If you do /HeyAmandaT, you will find me. And my email is athomas@etumos.com. So if there's anything that you want more detail on that I go over within this presentation, please feel free to reach out to me personally. I know we'll also have a follow-up email with some links that will provide more information on pieces that I'm discussing within this presentation. But again, please feel free to reach out to me personally. Always happy to help. So getting started, hopefully this is no longer a question for you since you're attending this session. But the whole point or the whole question that this kind of comes up a lot and why we actually need a recycle nurture. Why do we need to revive dead leads? And when I say dead leads, I mean recycled leads. So if this is still a question, I have a couple of answers here. And if you do need to sell or internally sell this project to your team, your stakeholders that you work with within your company, here are a couple of answers that you can use as well for that reason. So the first answer, leads cost money and money shouldn't be wasted. Pretty obvious. You have costs around acquiring the person. You have costs around marketing to that person, costs around your technological resources, even your database costs, so your cost of housing that person within your system, and your sales resources. So think of your CRM and your outreach. You're spending money on these leads and having them just flow through the buyer journey just one time and then be done is kind of leaving money on the table, and we don't want to do that. This image here is from Survey in Place, and it shows your cost per lead per industry and per channel. And I've personally seen those costs a lot higher for specific channels. So there is a lot of cost, and we just don't want to waste that money. The second reason, or second answer to this question, is B2B selling has manual components. Your sales reps differ. They're people, they're humans, and they have good days, bad days. They also make phone calls. They're having these manual components. And although they're very well trained, they can have differences of opinions on dispositioning people or leads that come into their sales funnel. And so you can get different results from different sales reps. So again, another reason why you should have these people kind of have a second chance at going through your sales cycle. So now that question is answered and we can get started. This presentation, of course, you could tell by the title, it's based on Lizzo's Truth Hurts. And you'll see a lot of Lizzo within this presentation to hopefully keep you entertained. The first section of this presentation is about Truth Hurts. So what data you actually need in place. So what data you need to collect to tell the truth about your buyer journey. Then the juice of the presentation is going to be a step-by-step guide as to building out an actual nurture program to deliver something more exciting to your leads. And then the last portion is going over a couple of reports that you can create to make sure you're optimizing that nurture that you built, and you're sharing the results to those stakeholders that you first tried to sell this project internally to. So hopefully leave you feeling good as hell at the end. So first section, Truth Hurts. So what you need in place to actually understand why your leads are falling out of the buyer journey and where they're falling out of the buyer journey. So in other words, collecting the data. So there are three portions to this section of the presentation. The three most important things that you need to actually get to the truth. Number one is Lifecycle Program. Two, your service level agreements or SLAs. And three, reporting on your fall off. So a few original reporting, original reports that you need before you even start your recycle nurture. So the first is your Lifecycle Program, and hopefully the majority of you already have this set up within your marketing instance. But if not, we will send you out a link on how to actually build this program. So some more information, I believe it's around a webinar or a blog. One of the presentations Etumos has done in the past, all about the life cycle. So we can get you more information on that. This Lifecycle Program is basically the backbone of your marketing automation system. It is going to be how you measure or how you track leads that from acquisition to customer, and how you actually trigger marketing automation actions off of those stage changes. So these stages are recommended by Serious Decisions. It's stages you find in most Marketo instances, and definitely stages that Etumos implements within our clients' instances for Lifecycle Program. The two dispositioned statuses that we're going to look at today are specifically marketing recycled lead, or MRL, and this is assigned at the time that someone is recycled from an MQL. And then your sales recycled lead, this is used when someone is recycled at the stage of SQL, so attached to what you might think of as like a new business opportunity. If that is marked as closed loss, that would be SRL. A pro tip for your Lifecycle Program and these stages in general, don't stop at customer. Your lifecycle program can extend to be a customer lifecycle program. So you can implement stages that will help you track upsells and renewals. So statuses are like your customer, your marketing qualified customer, MQC, sales qualified customer, tracking those stages to understand your upsells and your renewals better. And those will also come in handy when trying to implement a former customer or recycled at the customer level. That recycle nurture, those statuses will definitely come in handy there. Okay, SLAs is step number 2, or the second thing that you need to understand the truth. Again, hopefully you already have this, but if you do, there are items that I believe you should know. And then if you don't, again, we'll send out a little bit more information for you, or please feel free to reach out to me personally and be happy to go over this in more detail. So the 4 requirements that you need for your SLAs. Again, your SLAs are service level agreements between marketing and sales. I like to think of this as like a time frame contract, meaning that each stage that you have within your funnel, you're only allowing them to remain at that stage for a certain period of time. So the 4 required things that you need on each SLA that you have between marketing and sales is your action item. What are you looking for sales to actually do? And then your outcome. What is at the end of, what are you looking to see change on that record? Your duration or your time frame that you're giving the team to complete this action item. And then requirements. So what are the fields that you actually need to be filled out and exposed to the Marketo user at the time that this duration or this action item is completed? The duration is up. You need these requirements on this record. So the first one here is disposition MQLs. I'm not going to go through all of these because you have them here. So if you need a starting point, you have it. But make sure, even if you do have SLAs today, that you are actually you're actually collecting this and you have this information as simplified as can be. This will help you implement a better recycle nurture. Action item is disposition MQL. It hit MQL. We need it to go somewhere else. The outcomes that we're looking for is either recycle or sell. So the sales rep saying, yes, this is good enough. I have enough information here for me to continue the sales cycle, or saying, no, this is garbage. We need to recycle this and get it out of my sales cycle, or any other reason around that recycle. The duration, so usually you'll allow 24 hours for this MQL to be dispositioned. And then the requirements is recycle reason and lead owner. I do want to point out, when you get towards the bottom of the funnel, you do want to make sure that your Marketo user is exposed to the close loss reason inside of Salesforce, and you do want to make sure that that field is required. Again, you want to make sure all these fields are required: recycle reason and close loss reason. This is going to help you understand your fall off and what even goes into your emails. Okay, so the third thing you need is reporting, of course. So these are 3 very, very simple reports that can help guide you to build your recycle nurture, and also tell you where the fall off is within your database, how your database looks today. So the first one is database by lifecycle status. Second is out of SLA reporting. And the third is recycle reason reporting. I'll go through how to set up these very quickly. The first one, database by lifecycle, this will sit under your lifecycle program. You're going to create a people performance report. Under the setup tab, you'll group by lifecycle status, and then smart list, you can add any filters you want to get a good idea as to what your database looks like today. Do you have more people in MRL versus SRL? Do you have are you creating a bottleneck somewhere? Or do you have a bunch of MELs, but no MQLs? This is going to give you a lot of good insight into where to start your recycle nurture, and then also into every other facet around life cycle stage. So seeing if you do have bottlenecks, if you do need to adjust any scoring or anything of that matter. This report is super useful and also useful for the recycle nurture that you're going to set up. The second report is out of SLA reporting. This is really useful to see if your SLAs are too aggressive. You don't want to start a recycle nurture if people aren't in general meeting the SLAs, because you want to make sure that they're actually not being handled by sales anymore. So the out of SLA reporting is very useful to give you insight into when to start your recycle nurture. You will create a smart list, and this is going to be under your SLA program. And yes, a thing of that nature does actually exist. That's going to send out your alerts when SLAs aren't reached. But under your SLA program, you'll create a smart list. You'll add the filters pictured here and then adjust the date stage timeframes to your SLA timeframes. Super simple. And then your third report is recycle reason reporting. This is going to guide you to what content you need in the actual emails that you're sending out. So under your lifecycle program, you create a people performance report, group by recycle reason under the setup tab. And then in the smart list, you'll add a filter that says the lifecycle status is MRL or SRL. This is going to give you good context around, what you need to actually address within this nurture. If no budget is, a lot of people are at no budget, then you know you need to address no budget within the emails that you're sending out. Okay, and then the juice. Okay, here's the big part, the step-by-step on building the actual nurture. Okay, so again, 3 steps to delivering something more exciting, your actual nurture. 1, you need to pick your recycle nurture type. 2, build the actual nurture. And then 3, implement extras. So recycle nurture type, there are different types of recycle nurture. And these are broken out by the stage of the funnel. So where were they when they got recycled? The first one is interrogation. This is very early on in the sales cycle. It's usually when it was within marketing hands or it had just reached over to sales hands. These people are usually recycled because they don't have enough information for sales to continue the sales process. The next nurture type is second chance. This is nurturing SRLs based on recycle reason, and these are early stage SRLs or early stage opportunities. So these are people that were attached to an opportunity that got close loss at an analysis or a value proposition stage. Your final shot. These are nurturing SRLs that are late stage opportunities, so proposal or negotiation. And then your win back is former customers. Now, the lower you go in the funnel, the more money at stake and the harder it will be to actually win these people back. So I definitely recommend integrating with your sales team as you go further down the funnel, making sure you completely understand these close loss reasons, any context behind them, how much time we need to wait before we start trying to nurture them back into the sales cycle. All that kind of stuff, just make sure you get with sales on that. So I recommend, if you haven't implemented recycle nurture yet, start with interrogation or second chance. Okay, so building the actual program. First, you have to build the structure of the engagement program. So create your engagement program. And then you'll have a folder for processing campaigns. This is how people enter, get paused, exit. And then you'll have a folder for each stream. And then a folder for landing pages if you need it. And then a folder for reporting. Okay, so in the processing campaigns, I'm going to go exactly one by one on these campaigns to make sure you have what you need to actually build this out. Okay, so the first is add to nurture. Your smart list here is going to say run off of your segmentation changing to recycle nurture. So at Etumos, we use Traffic Director to sort people into a segmentation that we use specifically for nurture. So we trigger off of segmentation change, and if you don't practice the same thing, you can trigger off of lifecycle status change. But using segmentations will ensure that your members are only receiving one nurture at a time, so their attention is focused, and you're just going to have better results coming from using segmentation. There is going to be a link in the follow-up email around Traffic Director and how to actually set this up. So if you need more information on segmentation, we'll get it over to you. So the flow step here is going to change the program status to nurture a member. Let's go back. Okay, we're going to make sure that they aren't a member of the engagement program. If they are, they're going to fall into the resume nurture. So the flow here is going to change their program status to being a member of this nurture, and then we're going to request the stream sorting campaign. Okay, the pause nurture. So these are people that are already in your engagement program. That's that green filter there. And then the segmentation changing to something other than recycle nurture. They now belong in a different nurture. So they should get those emails. So we need to pause them. And what we'll do in the flow step is just pause the cadence. So change engagement program cadence to pause. For resume, so this is going to look at people, again, that green filter down at the bottom, that are already a member of this program, and their engagement program or cadence is paused, and then their segmentation is changing to recycle nurture. And the flow here is to change that cadence back to normal and then request that stream sorting campaign. So the stream sorting campaign. This campaign runs off of being requested, and of course it's requested from the add to nurture and resume nurture. And the flow here is going to look for SmartList membership and then change the stream to sort them into the right stream. So SmartList setup, think of what's going to be at that stage. So SRL late stage, your SmartList would look like a lifecycle status changing to SRL. They have an opportunity. That opportunity was updated in the past, say, 24 hours. The new stage of that opportunity update is closed loss, and the previous stage was negotiation or something that was like your late stage of opportunity. And then your SRL early opportunity SmartList would look pretty much like the same thing. Your lifecycle status is changing to SRL. They have an opportunity. That opportunity was updated in the past 24 hours. The new stage is closed loss, but the previous stage was like analysis or value proposition, something that was early on. So it's going to sort them into change their new stream and make sure they get placed into the right stream. Okay, so you will have a default program for each one of the emails that you send. And so you have a stream or folder for each stream. And then within that stream, you have the actual default programs with the email asset, a send campaign, and a skip campaign. Default programs are perfect to use because they allow the stream to call on program membership, which allows for that skip logic to happen. Lots of other benefits like switching out the email without interrupting the flow, lots of tokens at the program level, just lots of benefits for using this default program. So definitely recommend that. And I'll show you how to configure your send and skip. You'll also see transition to accelerated and transition to steady. Those campaigns, I'll get to those a bit later in the extras that you can implement. So the first, the SmartList for the send campaign, the only filter you need on all of your send campaigns is that they are a member of this program. Everything else is handled outside of this campaign. And the flow here is, of course, send an email and then change the program status to send. Super simple. Your skip campaign. So the skip campaign is allowing for skip logic to work basically within your nurture program. So this is saying that if someone is already engaged with the content that you're sending in this email, you don't want them to send the email. It's just redundant, it's wasting their time, and it's also wasting your communication level limits, right? So if you know you can only send them a certain number of emails in a day or in a week, you want to make sure that this is part of it and you're not wasting that email that you can send. So your SmartList will trigger off of engagement with that piece of content that you're promoting. So that can be a filled out form if you're promoting a gated asset within that email, or it can be visits a web page if you're promoting something like a blog. Just make sure you don't use click link in email. Spam bots are, as we know, very prevalent within our industry, and they go through and they click all the links within your emails, and that registers as false clicks. So just don't use click link in email for the smart list. Anything else will do. And then the flow, you're just changing that program status to excluded. So what this will do is Marketo, when it's running the stream, it's looking for membership within that default program as when it's used as like the asset within the stream. So it's looking to see, okay, I want to add Amanda to this default program that's sending email 1. Oh, she's already a member. So now I'm going to call on the next default program to send email 2. And that's how the skip logic occurs. I did do a session completely about this last year and personalization. So if you need more information on that, it is available. Okay, the final step of building out this engagement program is configuring your streams. So build your streams, create them, and then add your programs. I have a screenshot here that shows like how you actually add the program and select the send campaign as the smart campaign, and then set your cadence and let it run and do the reporting that we'll move on to. Before you get to the reporting, there are some extras that you can implement. The first thing is tempo. So let them speed up if they want to. Basically, if they're engaging with your content, move them to a stream that is running the same content at a faster rate. Allow them to binge on content so they can move through their sales cycle. They can hit MQL a lot faster. Also, not an extra, it should be required. Everything within your streams, everything within the emails, within the streams that you're building, at the end of the stream, it should get them to MQL. If they're engaging with everything that you're promoting, at very least, at the end of the stream, everything that you're promoting should score them back up to MQL. So please make sure that's something that you double check when you're creating these emails. Okay, so how you actually implement your transition to accelerated. So how you implement this acceleration logic. The smart list, you'll look at the being a member of the engagement program, they were delivered the email, and then they interacted. So again, visiting that web page if you're promoting a blog or something ungated, or fill that form if you are promoting something that is gated. And then the flow is going to change the program status to converted. They've actually engaged with the piece of content that you're promoting. And then you change their program stream to tempo. If they are in accelerated stream and they're not engaging, so you'll look at member of engagement program stream as tempo or accelerated. They were delivered the email and they did not take that activity. They did not engage with the email with what you're promoting. You want to switch them back to the slow or the steady campaign. Okay, the other extra I like to promote always is personalization. So this was a good example that Path Factory had from our presentation last year at Adobe Summit. They segmented their database, or basically their nurture audience. They further segmented them based on profile. So demand gen, marketing ops, and content marketing. And then they switched just a few things within the email, like the subject line and a little bit of the copy within the email. And they ended up getting 2 times the increase in opens and clicks. So I for sure recommend that you do this based on recycle reason. It's going to make sure that you have less emails that need to be created. So you'll further segment your nurture audience into segments based on recycle reason, and then you'll adjust your snippets and what you want to say based on that recycle reason. And then that way you can repurpose the same email in different ways to address those different recycle reasons. Okay, the third extra is to be extra. Don't be afraid to be bold. This is kind of your last hurrah with a lot of these people. your last chance to get them to engage with your brand again. So don't be afraid to use a theme within these emails, like Lizzo or something like Friends. And use GIFs, use witty subject lines, emojis in the subject line. I've personally seen a 2-time higher open rate for emails that had emojis in the subject line. So I definitely suggest that. And remember that nurture is larger than email. So align with your paid media team, align with social, align with your web team to see how are they retargeting people, and how are you aligning with that, and how are they aligning with the emails that you're sending and the content you're promoting together. Okay, so the very last part of this presentation is sharing your results. So what you need to see how it's working, and then share these results with the team. Okay, so remember your original reporting. You have database by life cycle status, your out of SLA reporting, and your recycle reason. Please make sure you are periodically checking into these, and also checking into or subscribing to these. The out of SLA reporting, that's a perfect one to actually have your sales management team subscribe to. You want to make sure that number is going down. You want to make sure people are actually following your SLAs. Your recycle reason reporting, make sure you subscribe to that. If something drastically changes within recycle reason and your content is addressing like no budget, but it's purchase timeline, that is like the #1 recycle reason, you need to make sure that you can go in and adjust the content that you're sending out, or just those snippets based on recycle reason and where they're used. So definitely make sure you have subscribed to all of these reports. The additional reporting, and again, please reach out to me if you want to go over how to build these out or anything like that. But your SLA improvement reporting, so you'll use static lists within that SLA program that you can use to guide your team. So if your SLAs aren't being met from SAL to SQL, like you allow 14 days for them to say, hey, it's qualified, or it needs to be recycled, or SRL. If that isn't being hit, then you need training more on that. Or maybe they're accepting them too fast, too quickly. They're not actually getting enough information to say, that previous stage is true. So definitely use that to guide those kind of conversations. Your recycle to MQL conversions. So at the time that you start this, pull the number of MQLs that you have that have a recycle date. That's going to be your recycle to MQL conversion, and you should see that increase. So pull that report again, like 3 months after implementing this, 6 months after, pull it quarterly to see that you're actually increasing. Your SLAs also should move your funnel at a faster rate, and that's this top screenshot here, just showing that people are prospecting, close on, how many are you actually getting. Your velocity reporting, see that people are moving through the funnel at a faster rate. Your revenue target reporting, of course, pipeline revenue at the end of the day is everything. So you want to make sure it's just more accountable. And that has to do with your SLAs, and then also your recycle. If you're recycling people up to MQL and they're entering the sales cycle again, is your revenue actually accountable from that? And then your nurture performance, of course. So within this nurture program, create your people performance report, and then group that by recycle reason and recycle stage. So were they MRL or SRL? And see how it's performing for those audiences, see how it's performing based on recycle reason. Definitely dive really deep into your nurture performance to optimize how it works. Okay, results that you should expect. Obviously, improvement within your SLAs. Your velocity hopefully should increase. And then I have seen a 20% faster MQL to SQL. And I've also seen 3x on recycle to MQL. So again, those number of people that were MQLs because that had a recycle date had increased 3 times. So we're getting more out of that recycle database that you have. And you're hopefully actually getting revenue out of it as well. Always be testing. So continue to optimize your nurture program to get these results, to get big results. And always look at where you are at today and compare yourself from that. Every company is different. So take the numbers that you have today and then improve on those numbers. And you should absolutely see results. Okay, and that's it. I'm going to open it up to Q&A. So I'm going to pass it over to Rusty.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Amanda.
Yeah.
Fantastic presentation and a great overview of, how you should be doing nurturing and doing it correctly. So yeah, we do have a few minutes here left for Q&A. So again, you can pop that in the Q&A box there in Zoom. So if you have any questions that you'd like addressed specifically, we have a few that we'll go over, but if there's something that speaks to your heart that you want to hear more about, please pop that in there and we will address it as you pop it in the Q&A box there. So first question, I think this is probably one of the ones that we as MOPS practitioners hear a lot, are concerned about with starting nurture. In your experience, what do you see as like the biggest barrier to starting nurturing of this style, this more advanced nurturing?
Yeah, I definitely see. I think a concern people have first starting out is that they don't have enough content for a new nurture or to target, a different side of their database. I would say, you'd be surprised at how much content you actually have. If you just scour your website and repurpose that, it's really easy to take from a gated piece of content like a white paper. You usually have a blurb explaining what that white paper is next to the form. So it is fairly simple. I wouldn't say easy because you definitely do have to spend some time on it, but it is possible to repurpose the content that you have on your website into these emails. You don't necessarily need a whole content team to get together and actually write out a bunch of emails. You can always start with something, and you'd be surprised if you just look at your website how much content that you have. But I would say that's a common I guess like objection I hear to starting a new nurture is like, oh, we don't have content for that. And it's like, you do, you can repurpose it and address these recycle reasons with the content that you have today. So I think that's definitely a good comeback for for not being able to get started on this.
Yeah, that's a great point, and you touched on it in the presentation a little bit. But a lot of times people think that it has to be this heavy white paper, or this really heavy designed infographic, or what have you. But I think you touched on even using blog posts as a part of your nurture stream. So that's a good way to kind of get around that lack of content argument, I think. So another question around nurturing is kind of how it relates, like how your scoring metrics work to kind of move people along. Can you talk a little bit about how people are using, nurturing to kind of drive scoring? What should we be thinking about when we're setting up our scoring programs in relation to like nurturing programs?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's, at the end of the day, what you're trying to accomplish with nurture is getting them back into the sales cycle. That's really what you want to do for the majority of for recycle nurture, and I would say prospect nurture. So there are definitely nurtures at certain stages to move people along related to opportunities or something else. But this specifically, recycle nurture, the end of the day is to get them back to MQL. So understanding how you, first of all, today, measure interactions with content. So looking at white papers, how much points is that? And also how detailed your scoring is today. So are you doing ARC scoring or scoring based on how specific that content is to a certain stage of someone's buyer journey cycle? So is that content very top level, very fluffy, I would say? It shouldn't get many points, right? And it probably shouldn't be in your recycle nurture, addressing a recycle reason. the content that you're using in these recycle nurtures should be addressing these recycled reasons. And usually that content is at a lower stage of the funnel. So it is addressing bigger, I would say bigger things like, how your customers use it. How would they implement your tool if they bought it? Addressing pricing, maybe things that are addressing those recycle reasons. And do you have sophisticated scoring that is giving extra points because this content is related to further down in the funnel? If so, that they absolutely will get to that MQL stage by the end of their stream. Another thing to consider with your scoring today is recycle. What do you do when people hit recycle with scoring? Are you clearing that out? Are you putting that behavior score back to 0? And how many points are needed for someone to go from recycle back to MQL? Some companies have it to where, if you're brand new, we only require 100 points for you to get to MQL. If you're in a recycle stage, we will require 200 points for you to get back to MQL. So you want to make sure, if that means that your stream needs to be longer, so you have more content to promote to get them back to that 200 level, make sure that's incorporated in your stream, or go back and address that. Should they be allowed to only need 100 points if they're actually engaging with your brand, if they're going to the website, they're filling out these forms, if they're interacting with the content you're promoting? Should you reduce that requirement? So scoring, I think, definitely plays a big part in this recycle nurture, and definitely should be looked at as you're building this out.
Awesome. Great comments on that. And then lastly, the last question that I'd kind of like to, pose here, while we've got our 4-time Marketer champion on the line. A lot of people, are wanting to do this for the first time. They want to start a nurture campaign. They want to get down to the fun extras that we have here. But you mentioned building out your segmentation, being able to use that segmentation as a means to attribute membership into these nurture campaigns. What would you say would be the good first step? If we don't have segmentation, would that be the place that somebody newly launching nurture, would that be the first place that we want to start? Would be actually defining those segmentations before we get into the nitty gritty of all these fun extras?
Yes, absolutely. Definitely start with segmentation. If you don't have segmentation yet, start there. So very first thing, before you get into recycle nurture, build that segmentation, build that traffic director, make sure people are getting into the appropriate nurture audiences, and staying there, or moving from the one appropriate audience to the next, as they should be, based on your sales cycle, based on your buyer journey. So absolutely start there first with your segmentation. And again, we'll send out information on how to actually do that for nurture. But it is important that you do have that in there. You can start without it. I mean, you can build an engagement program that has them enter because of their life cycle status changing, but it's going to cause like other things to happen, and those people can be involved in other engagement programs, and then you're both competing, or you're sending mixed messages. It's not delivering them a clear, concise nurture when you're not using segmentation. So it's absolutely a requirement to get started on recycle nurture and any nurture in general.
Yeah, I mean, it's what we always talk about, building the foundation before we build the tower on it. So those are great comments. I appreciate you sharing your experience and where to start as a practitioner who may be just looking to implement this. I think that's some great advice. So. Well, with that wraps up our Q&A for this particular session. I'd like to thank again Amanda Thomas. Fantastic presentation. If you could hear me, I'm clapping right now. I'd like to thank all of our attendees too for attending this first of our MOPsCON spring preview sessions. Thank you for all your questions. We will be sending out follow-up emails which will contain a link to the recording of this session, as well as a link to download the slide deck from today's presentation. Additionally, watch your email boxes. We will be sending out some information for full MOPsCON, which will be forthcoming as more information is available for that. So do check your inboxes, especially check your inboxes, because if you attended this session, we're actually going to be offering a $150 discount for our full-on MOPsCON in the fall. So you don't want to miss out on that. And you also don't want to miss out on the other sessions that will have links to recordings for. So those will all be available if you can't make one of our 4 preview sessions. As an additional resource, I would also like to call attention to our MOPS Pros Slack channel. If you're not familiar with our MOPS Pros Slack channel, this is kind of an agnostic place where you can go get advice from long-term practitioners. All are welcome, from the person who's got their first job in marketing automation and marketing ops, all the way to old hats in all the pros. So a lot of people, if you've faced a challenge or you have a question, you're probably not the first. So we'll be sending out a link for you to join that Slack channel as well in the email. And again, you post questions, gripe about MOPS, whatever it is that you want to talk about. It's a great place to talk about it. There's experts, who have been there, seen it, and found a resolution. So great resource for all of your your MOPS questions, as it were. That being said, I'd like to thank Amanda just once again for being the first of our spring preview here. We will be sending out those follow-up emails probably coming at the end of the week, so do pay attention to that. And I'm Rusty Hall. Thanks again for joining, and I look forward to seeing you on our next session coming up shortly. Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.